So the other day I was out and about, as I tend to do from time to time, because, the boss, she needed some food and a couple of new toys. So I went to the local feed store, and as I was standing in an aisle, kind of perusing what was there, deciding if it was a chicken or a fish kind of week, maybe both, who knows. This woman comes up to me and she says, "Excuse me, sir, where can I find the..." And I was like, "I don't work here. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're looking for. I can't begin to help you. But there's that person over there. You might want to ask them. They have a shirt that says they work here." And she responded to me, "Oh, I thought you were the manager. I thought you could help me." Now, kids, that's what they call a microaggression. And just because I'm an old white guy standing in the aisle of a store doesn't make me the manager. You're making a lot of assumptions there, Carol, and I can see your bias, so you better cover that stuff up. What about the children? All right, let's get into it a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit deeper and figure out what are microaggressions and how they affect your self-employment, small or home business. All right, I'll see you after the break. Now, this is a very complicated subject, and we will only be scratching the surface of what we need to do on this topic. There are tons and tons and tons of more advanced stuff written about it. I'm just trying to get you the basic idea of things, and then we can go from there, all right? Now, the example I gave you at the top is kind of, I guess, an extreme example, but, it's not. It really isn't. You would be surprised how many times I come up against bias, especially age bias, which is hard for me to deal with, all right? I still don't see myself as my age. I still think of myself as I'm in my 30s, but that boat has sailed. Now, just because I'm old and I'm in a store doesn't mean I'm the manager. I'm not the boss. I'm just bossy, and there's a big difference between the two, right? Subtle, but it's there. Okay, getting off the point again, but that's my brand. Now, I do come across a lot of bias, as I was saying, throughout my day, and for a variety of different reasons, all right? Now, assuming that someone is old and they don't understand how to use technology or social media is a bias. It is a microaggression. Why? Because I know how to use technology. I learned every step of the way. I've been there. We only had one computer in our high school, and I had to learn from start to finish. Assuming that I'm married, and I must be married to a woman, and that we have kids is also a bias. It's also a microaggression. You have kids, right? Now, side note, if you're going to come up and ask me to talk about my kids, or you want to see the kids, or you mention anything about me and kids, well, be prepared. You're going to get a lot of cat pictures, videos, and cute little montage presentations of how just freaking awesome they are, all right? You've been warned, so don't come up to me in public and ask me about the kids, because you know what you're going to get. All right, as I said, all of those are what the kids call a microaggression, all right? And the thing is, they ain't wrong. Now, a microaggression is when someone assumes because of your A, whatever A might be, that you don't like, get, or understand B. There's not really even any correlation sometimes, all right? Like technology and older people, all right? Again, I was there when AOL first started. I may not be a TikToker, but that's okay. I know how to use social media. I know how to use computers. I can repair computers. So assuming that because I'm old, I can't, that's a bias, and it can come across as a microaggression. Now, what is a microaggression besides that kind of clinical term of if you're A and B? Let's get into some concrete everyday examples. They are derogatory statements that are couched in a way that the aggressor things come off as positive, okay? They're trying to, I'm here to help you. I only want the best for you. You agree with me, right? They're really common. You hear them all day throughout the day, and you probably didn't realize that you were dealing with a microaggression. Now, we've all been guilty of it. We all do it, and the big one I use all the time is, like I said, all right? I do that, and there's a couple of reasons for it, and I'm not trying to justify it. I've learned what it is and how it is a microaggression, but let's break it down and really understand what I'm talking about, all right? In my mind, what I'm doing is I'm connecting two parts of a story, all right? I'm saying to you, we've been talking a little bit, and this happened a lot when I was teaching, because I could, as you all know, if you're fans of any of my content, I kind of go off on a tangent, and you may get lost somewhere in the weeds, or we may go off on a different direction. And it was always my way of bringing back the conversation or reminding people, okay, here's what's important. We're going to talk about it again. It was way back at the beginning, so you may have forgotten it, all right? I saw it as a way to help people remember things. It was a mnemonic device, a callback to say, remember this, because now we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to show you why this is super important, why you need to know about this. But over the years, I've learned how I can see how that can kind of come off as aggressive. It doesn't really help matters, too, that, well, I'm well known and beloved for my sarcasm, and that doesn't always translate in the ways that I think it might, that I would like it to, particularly if you've just met me. If you don't know who I am, you've never had an experience with me, my sarcasm can come off as he's being a real asshole. He's coming off really aggressive. I don't understand why he's being such a pain in the ass. I'm just asking a question. Now, that combined with my, like I said, just adds a layer upon a layer upon layer. And I can really see, I've learned to understand how someone can understand that. What they may hear, what they're probably hearing is, what does he think, I'm stupid? I can't remember what he said like 2 minutes ago. And what's with the sarcasm? He needs to take this really seriously. I'm not being funny here. You see where I'm going with all this, right? All right, you can have the best of intentions. You can be I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to be a nice guy. And yet somehow you can end up having a microaggression because it's all about what the listener hears, all right? Now let's get into it a little bit deeper. Let's dig a little bit more. Now, there are probably a few, if you're self-employed, freelancer, small business, home business, you name it. If you've started a business on your own, you have heard a lot of microaggressions in your time getting started, growing your business. We always tend to hear them from someone who claims that they're a cherished loved one, that they are just trying to help us and do what's best for us, right? We've all been there. All right. I can't tell you how many people did not support my creative endeavors growing up. I would hear things, and I'm sure you've heard them too, is, why are you starting this as a business? Can't you just do this on the side? Do you really need to start a business for this? What do you know about blank? You don't know about that, and you're going to start a business? Who do you think you are? And, they're not going to come off with that who do you think you are part, but you know where I'm saying. They'll remind you of things like great little facts that most businesses fail in the first year, and that, you're starting a business in this economy, there's a recession going on. Who do you think you are to start a business? You're going to end up in the poorhouse, whatever, all right? It is that sort of, I'm trying to help you, I'm trying to support you, I'm trying to tell you the truth. Other people aren't going to be honest with you. They're not going to tell you the truth, but I am. Really? Really? Because if you really were a supporter, if you really did want to help me, then you back me the fuck up. You would get with the other people that really care about me and are there to help me and make sure that I am the most successful business that I can be. Your little microaggression is saying a lot more about you than it does about me, all right? And the sad part is, a lot of us buy into it, all right? We all, and I guarantee you hear it all the time, all right? And you particularly hear it from consumers, from clients, and they are the worst, all right? Because we will tend to ignore them a little bit more. With family members, we get a little annoyed with them, we get a little pissed off, but typically we will ignore them. Now, consumer, it's going to really be ignored because we're like, oh shit, it's a consumer, it's a client, I gotta suck it up. You roll your eyes at them, you kind of like, what do they know? I'm going to do what I need to do. They'll be out of here in a few minutes, all right? And I would be remiss if I let them off the hook, because most of the microaggressions you come into contact with in any given day, is going to come from a consumer or a client. That's just the facts, Jack. Now, you're going to probably be sitting there saying, but EH, my consumers are the best in all the land. They love me. They worship me. They would never come at me in a passive-aggressive way. And to that I say, you're right. Most of them, 90% of them, are awesome. They are amazing. They are your super fans. They're your Bettys. The casual consumers are great. They get you. They love you. But there are a few, a small handful, and you know who you are, and you know who I'm talking about, that are completely and totally draining. They suck the life right out of you. They are exhausting. They're downright crazy makers, and they will make your day go from awesome to complete disaster faster than you can say razzmatazz, all right? Now, you deal with these microaggressions and they make you feel, they take away your energy, but you're not 100% sure why. Because they're microaggressions. They go under the radar just enough. Their power is, they'll say it, you kind of ignore it for a minute, and then when they're gone, an hour later, 2 hours later, later that night, you're like, the fuck did Bill say? Fuck him. Who does he think he is to talk to me that way? And then, but you don't realize why you've been annoyed for all day, because Bill has plucked your last good nerve. It was a very passive-aggressive microaggression, and now you're trying to deal with what's left over, all right? In the moment, it's one of those things where we just kind of roll our eyes. We think, it's not worth calling them out for, you know, are they really gonna change? And then that just perpetually feeds the monster, because once you've thrown them that raw meat, you're gonna have to keep throwing it to them. They are going to want more. Now, microaggressions that you're gonna hear throughout the day from consumers and clients, and there are millions of them, all right? I would love to hear in the comments below some of the microaggressions that consumers and clients tell you throughout the day, things that you have heard. And we'll talk about one of the ones that really gets me to I'm going to use a bad word here, triggered. One of the ones that gets me really triggered constantly when I was doing design work, but we'll get there in a second. But the ones you may hear, and particularly if you're in creative fields, you'll hear a lot of these a lot of the times. One of the ones I love is when people come into a brick and mortar business, a brick and mortar, you have driven there to get this thing, and you walk in and the first thing out of your mouth is, I don't really like shopping here. I don't really like this store, but it's close to my house. Well, thank you for coming in. We appreciate having you with us today. Every other business does it. Why don't you? Is there a male doctor I could see? That seems like a lot of money for something that feels really cheap. You know, you get it. They're the kind of comments that we roll our eyes at, all right? We get it in the creative industries a lot more than most people do, I would argue. And not to try and say apples, you know, like put one person down and get it. You know what I'm talking about, all right? That was kind of a microaggression. One of the things that we hear, and one of the reasons that most people get out of their creative fields, is things like, this is your passion. Why are you charging me? Can't you just do it for free? I'll give you exposure. It'll be a great portfolio piece. Don't you want more portfolio pieces? Yeah, you know, I do, but I also want to pay my bills. I also like to eat. I like to make sure that I'm not living on the street, because if I'm homeless, then no one is going to do your design work, right? Like, yeah, I get it. You think you're trying to do something great for us. Okay, so the one that would drive me crazy, I mean, absolutely send me up a wall, was when people would say, my nephew is, or my husband is, or I know my best friend is a graphic designer. They do design, all right? Now, the inference here is, I know your business. I know what you do, so don't you try and pull anything, because I know what I'm looking for. I know, I'll see it. And it just is annoying. And over the years, I used to let it go. I used to ignore it. I used to just put it on the side and be like, yeah, whatever, all right. As I got older, I would start to realize that, you know what? I don't have to take this. I can push back. And I started to, when anybody said that my nephew is, I would push back. Now, let me tell you about one time that really drove me crazy. And it was microaggression after microaggression after microaggression. There was a client I had, and any kind of I would send them something for feedback. they would send it back to me with notes from their nephew. Their nephew, who was a freshman in college, just starting out at a liberal arts college nonetheless, who would give me feedback and critique on my work. Now, I'm not opposed to feedback and critique. I'm not impartial to that. I actually enjoy solid feedback. But from a freshman at a liberal arts college, when I am a seasoned professional, decades of experience, I taught design, I taught art, I worked in the industry for how many years, I have a number of degrees, that is a microaggression. And what it means was that this person wasn't confident enough to say, I don't like this, I don't know why I don't like it, but I don't like it. Can we go back and do it? Where if they had come to me and said, I don't know why, but I don't like what's jazzing here. Any professional designer worth their oats is going to be, all right, let's talk about this for a minute. Is it the color palette? Do you not like the color palette? Is it the type? What is it about the type? We would delve in and deepen. When you start to tell me that your nephew, freshman in college, knows more than a seasoned professional, we have some problems. And so then I got to the point where people would come up and they'd be like, you know, my nephew is a graphic designer. Oh, that's really cool, interesting. I mean, and it can be a great bonding experience if the person just lets it go after that. But typically that's not while they're bringing it up. And so when that happens now, they'll be like, good, well, that's really cool. So why don't you hire your nephew? And we all know what the answer is to that, right? Yeah, no. You want professionality for no money, all right? And we're going to deal with getting paid with what we're worth in some other videos and in the upcoming review this month. So that's a whole separate subject. Now, we're left as the business to have to deal with these microaggressions, and we're facing them down, we're looking them at them eye to eye, and we're ready to take them on. So how do you deal with it? How do you overcome these microaggressions, all right? Now, remember, you are a professional. You don't have to put up with any bullshit. You can tell someone no. I know that we're going to talk about this a lot the next coming month because it's part of everything that we're doing with the review and dispatches and all of that. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But we're going to be talking about getting paid what you're worth, and that there are consumers that will appreciate it and understand you. You don't have to be biting at the heels of these people that don't really want to work with you, all right? If you don't want to work with me, don't work with me. All right, first of all, like the caring family member who just wants to give you feedback. I just want to give you input. I'm just asking questions. It's really cliche to say, but it is true. They are jealous, all right? They are jealous. You are being the bravest person out there. You have started your own business. You are making a go of it on your own. And they are stuck somewhere, probably miserable, with a boss that they hate, a job that they're not happy in, and they are mad and jealous that you are doing what you want to do. They don't want you to be a success, all right? They are mad that they can't do what they want, so they're going to take it out on you in the guise of, I'm only trying to help. Now, if they were really trying to help, they would be supportive, right? I said that before. Like I said. See, didn't mind a callback to what I said before. As I was mentioning, they'd support you. They'd be happy for you. They would be your biggest cheerleader. You know, most of the people that I know that supported me were my really unpaid sales and marketing team. They would be constantly, you know, hey, do you need a graphic designer? Hey, come, my best friend, EH, he can do it for you. If you can't do that, if you can't support, or even just say, I'm there for you if you need me, even just that much, then you can just sit down and shut the fuck up, all right? If you can't back me up, get the hell out of my way. It always, every microaggression says more about the person saying it than the person hearing it, all right? They are showing their hand with a tell. That microaggression is their tell for their poker hand, all right? They are engaging in passive-aggressive behavior because they are too afraid to say what they really want to say what they really, or do what they really want to do. If you don't really want to come into this store, if you don't really like shopping here, there are other options. You have made a choice to come here, so do not make me feel bad because you made a choice that you're not happy with. Spend the money, the extra money in gas, and go the extra 5 miles to the place you like. But you won't because you're lazy. All right? Those are the things that we have to keep in the back of our mind. Don't let them, and I'm to the point with some consumers, the problem children and the Karens and the Chads, where I'm like, if you don't like it, there are other options. Get the hell out of here, all right? We don't need to take it, all right? And I think we need to start making that as a change in everything that we do, is we don't need to take this crap from people, all right? Now, if you continue to feed the monster, it is only going to get worse, all right? And this brings me to my next point. They ain't gonna change. There is nothing that in their life that is gonna make them change. And you even pushing back and saying, so, why don't you hire your nephew, is not going to get them to change their thinking. It is not gonna get them to change their behaviors. They have to want to change them, and they have to be aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it, how it affects other people, and then make that change. And if that was possible, they probably would have already done it. All right, because you are not the first person to push back on them. They have been hearing this all the time. And I guarantee you, in their heads, they're playing the victim. But I'm just trying to help people. I don't understand why nobody wants my help. I mean, whatever, all right? Carol, you're a horrible person, so just sit down and shut the fuck up, all right? They have ingrained behaviors. They are not going to change because they don't want to change, all right? So your best option, once again, is to tell them no. Your business isn't right for everyone, and everyone isn't right for your business. That is just a fact. That is a fact that we all have to accept. We never, ever want to say no to potential business, all right? We never, ever want to say no. But let me be clear. Let me define what potential business is. It is somebody who will eventually convert to a loyal, supportive consumer who wants to work with you and doesn't think you work for them. There's a huge difference there, and let me say it again. They want to work with you. You're not working for them. And there are too many consumers out there, especially in clients in the creative industries, things like tax preparation, financial, that think you work for them, that somehow suddenly they're the boss of you. No. That's not how it works. We are on the same level. We are the same. I am helping you through a situation that in turn helps me because I'm getting some money out of it, all right? Now, the one last thing is we all have to admit that we are part of the problem, all right? All of us make assumptions about things. We all have little minor microaggressions, like I said. It's okay. We're only human, all right? However, the difference is being able to recognize it, being able to own it. And if you do make it a microaggression, if you do say something, it's the difference between doubling down on, I was just trying to help you, or saying, I'm really sorry, I didn't understand, I can completely see how you would take that the wrong way, and I am so sorry, that was not my intention. And then learn from that experience, all right? I don't think any of us that run a small home business or self-employed freelancers, none of us are going out there and intentionally trying to hurt people, and none of us want to intentionally be hurt. So if you do, just apologize, say you're sorry. I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I find this, and this is a side tangent, it's okay to say you're sorry. It's not a bad word. Say you're sorry, move on. I say I'm sorry 35 times a day at least, all right? Me and Larry David. As with all my content, there is a worksheet to download, and it will help you kind of for like the next week or two, just kind of keep track of what you say, how you say it, what people say to you, how they say it. Is it a microaggression where you may be misunderstanding them? Because that happens a lot too. Depending what's going on in our day, we may think they're being an asshole, and it really is just we're taking things the wrong way that day, all right? It will kind of walk you through the next week to kind of really help you assess things, and it will lead you into the review that's going to come out on August 1st. In the next issue of the review, we're going to be discussing how to get paid what you're worth by raising your prices. And that can be something that can be anxiety and stress inducing. It can cause you all kinds of, and it will go on sale August 1st. While you're there, don't forget to sign up and join my mailing list, aka my tribe, because when you do, you get our bi-weekly newsletter, The Dispatch. It comes free to your inbox. It's delivered every first and third Sunday. The past two issues, actually, let me back up for a second. Both issues within the month, feed into the review. So the 2 issues of the dispatch for July have been dealing with consumers constantly asking you for discounts and kind of self-sabotaging and discounting yourself without anybody asking you. All right, so those feed into it, but you don't need them to do the review, but they're free, so you might as well take advantage of them. Everything, all the content comes as articles and stories, brainstorming activities, skill building challenges, you name it. It's all there to give you everything that you need, nothing you don't, and it's always at a price that anyone and everyone can afford. All right, so I think that's it for this episode, and I hope you liked it. Leave comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Like and subscribe if you like it, because hopefully you do. You do, don't you? And other than that, I will see you soon. All right.